You found yourself on another edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United, and on today's episode, public service announcement: the Cleveland Cavaliers are a problem. Meanwhile, in Memphis, the Bulls win a game, but let's be honest, they didn't deserve to win. I'll explain why right here on Let 'Em Know Kings United. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for the post-game reaction podcast of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, and the Chicago Bulls. This is Let 'Em Know Kings United. Let 'em know, Nation, this is probably going to be the biggest venting session that I've ever done on this show. So if you came on here and expected a therapeutic podcast, well, maybe I can help with that. You already know what time it is. Welcome to another edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United, your Cleveland Cavaliers, Chicago Bulls, and Sacramento Kings post-game reaction podcast. I am your host, Skylar Weisberg. Thank you for tuning into today's program. You can find this show, which is 100% completely free and available, on Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and wherever else you want to listen to this podcast. You can also find this show on YouTube. If you are watching this video on YouTube, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it. Hit subscribe to my YouTube channel, NJHawk40. Hit that notification bell so you know about the next episode. For my audio people, give the show a follow on those platforms. If you can please turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends, and give Let 'Em Know Kings United a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. It is an awesome way to support the podcast, and I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. I wanted to talk about how the Cleveland Cavaliers are an absolute problem, but I am going to do that in the second segment of this show because I want to spend as much time as I can talking about the most disgraceful franchise in the history of the NBA, which is the Chicago Bulls, who, by the way, spoiler alert, did absolutely nothing at the trade deadline. They did zero, zilch, el zippo, nada, because you know what AK, the vice president of basketball operations for the Chicago Bulls, said? They wanted to remain competitive. We are an organization that is competitive to make it to the playoffs, competitive with the guys that we have. Well, here's a spoiler alert, AK. You're not going to be competitive if you are keeping the same guys on this roster. In order to be competitive, you need to make moves at the trade deadline. You need to make moves to get the organization into a better place not only for now, but the future. What the Bulls did was absolutely choke on their future. And we have a front office that is more delusional and more brainwashed than what people think. I seriously think that AK has no idea how to run the front office of the Chicago Bulls. Because you know what the top 7 teams in the East did? Boston, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, New York, Miami. Those teams did? They made moves at the end of the trade deadline to make their teams better. Obviously, we know what the results were, right? Obviously, Miami got better by adding Terry Rozier. Obviously, the New York Knicks, the winners of the trade deadline, in my opinion, got drastically better with the pickups of Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic for the Detroit Pistons, which expected to make their debut this weekend. I'm excited to watch that. Obviously, as many of you may know, the Cleveland Cavaliers got drastically better by picking up Georges Niang signing Max Strus in free agency during the offseason. And right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I'm going to expand more on that in the second segment of this show, are an absolute problem. And they are not only in the first place in the Central Division as of right now, but second place in the Eastern Conference. But meanwhile, in the corner of West Madison Street, in the streets of Chicago, the Chicago Bulls have done absolutely nothing to make this team better. All we're doing is gambling our future. While we're playing checkers, while every single member of Bulls Nation and the Chicago Bulls franchise is playing checkers, the rest of the Eastern Conference, and quite frankly, the rest of the NBA is playing chess. You want me to prove my point? You want me to prove my point even further? Just look at the two best front offices in the NBA right now. The Oklahoma City Thunder and the New York Knicks. Two very great examples about how a front office should act. Speaking of that, let's take a look at the New York Knicks. Let's take a look at the Knicks, for example. They got rid of Quentin Grimes, Archie Diacono, McBride, and among all other liabilities, to get better and get players like Bojan Bogdanovic, who's averaging 20 points per game off the bench, and Alec Burks, who's having a breakout year when he was with the Detroit Pistons. They got rid of liabilities to get assets to make the teams better. And you know what's crazy about this is the Knicks did not get rid of a first-round pick at the trade deadline. That is critical. That is absolutely critical for not only now, but the future. I admire the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I admire the New York Knicks front office because they understand that. They understand how to make the team better. They understand the culture that Oklahoma City and the Knicks respectively want to fit in. As for AK and the Chicago Bulls, they just don't get it. They don't understand how to build. They don't understand how to compete for the future. They don't understand how to make the Bulls better because all they care about is butts and seats, making a whole lot of money, being so selfish and prideful. It's just absolutely unbelievable. And all they care about now is being competitive. Being competitive. Well, you know what, AK? You're not competitive. You're brainwashing every single member of Bulls Nation, including me. Because I don't see competitive. I don't see continuity. No, I don't see that. What I do see is complacency. What I do see is an absolute clown show. An absolute clown show and an absolute circus ran by this Bulls front office. It makes me sick to my stomach that I had to start this show that way. But that's just a little bit me venting about how pathetic AK and the Bulls front office is. Now let's talk about this game, which honestly the Chicago Bulls did not deserve to win this game at all. It's that simple. Period, point blank. The Memphis Grizzlies should have beat the Chicago Bulls. If it wasn't for two people, if it wasn't for Kobe White, and if it wasn't for Andre Drummond, I don't give a damn about DeMar DeRozan. I seriously don't give a damn if DeMar DeRozan led the Chicago Bulls in scoring in 30 points. He might be the only offensive player that showed up in critical situations. But as far as the context in this game, Andre Drummond is the only Bull that actually put in work. This Bulls team fooled around. They played with their food and almost got burned. They disrespected the game last night. It is that simple. They almost lost this game, and the Memphis Grizzlies should have stole it. They should have stole this game, to be perfectly honest. And before I go even further, I need to give credit to the Memphis Grizzlies. I need to give credit to Taylor Jenkins because these guys put their hard hats on and went to work. And honestly, the Chicago Bulls got outplayed. They got outplayed. They got outworked. They almost looked like they didn't even want to be in the game to begin with. I saw no energy. I saw no effort. I saw no communication on both ends of the floor. At one point, the Chicago Bulls had a shot clock violation in this game because we didn't know We didn't know how to communicate. And defensively, more defensive breakdowns. We don't know how to help. We don't know how to switch properly. Like at one point, the Memphis Grizzlies ran a guard-to-guard play, and Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu was supposed to switch. But in the words of the film session guy, did the Chicago Bulls go over either in practice or in film or during halftime that anytime a guard-to-guard screen happens, you switch every time. No talking about it, no thinking about it. The Bulls just don't know how to game plan. They really don't. They don't know how to do anything. And I'm absolutely shocked that we won this game, honestly. Shocked because it was the worst win of the season, number one. And number two, shocked because there's only one player that showed up. And no, it's not DeMar DeRozan. And like I said, I don't give a damn if he scored 30 points and led the Chicago Bulls in scoring. The guy who showed up was Andre Drummond. He was the only Bull that actually took this game seriously. He had 21 points and 13 rebounds last night. He showed more effort than the entire team last night. I understand that Kobe White, I understand that Nikola Vucevic, I understand that DeMar DeRozan had breakout games. But to me, I needed to see effort. I needed to see somebody take this game seriously. And credit to Andre Drummond, he did that. But as far as this team, that was the most pathetic win that I've ever watched in my life. You looked absolutely lifeless for 3 quarters. You fooled around with a Memphis Grizzlies team that had nothing but G Leaguers. You played with your food and you almost got burned. You almost got burned to it. Their mentality is awful. Their willingness to lock in for the game was absolutely terrible. We only played one good quarter, and that was the fourth when we outscored them 38-29. When we look at the box score, honestly, the Memphis Grizzlies had every right on the face of this universe to win this game from the Chicago Bulls. But credit to Kobe White and Andre Drummond for bringing it home. But my God, the way that we played last night in Memphis, Tennessee was absolutely awful. Absolutely awful. Now, I know DeMar DeRozan scored 30 points. Andre Drummond had 21 and 13. Vooch had 20 points and 10 rebounds. And by the way, at halftime, Billy Donovan, who is the worst coach in the NBA right now, had Nikola Vucevic and Andre Drummond, the big man, line up into the game. I need to see more of that because Andre Drummond, to me, challenges Nikola Vucevic to play better. Drummond went 10-11 from the field, and the Bulls won their second straight game and 3 of their last 4 games. But honestly, this was a game that the Memphis Grizzlies should have won, and the Grizzlies deserved to win. The Bulls had centers Andre Drummond and Nikola Vucevic on the floor together for significant minutes, and the pair dominated inside, contributing to Chicago out-rebounding the Grizzlies 46-34. Drummond said, "We're a force together in the paint. It makes teams deal with us both ends of the floor." I really like that lineup, and I look forward to more of it. Andre Drummond, can I get an amen from the choir, somebody? Because I want to see that lineup more. I want to see the lineup of Kobe White, DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, Nikola Vucevic, and Andre Drummond together. I need to see that against the Orlando Magic. I need to see that against the Magic, right? Because they got 2 big men in Franz and Mo Wagner, as well as Wendell Carter Jr., former Chicago Bull. They got Paolo Banchero, who was an absolute beast and a all-star. It is going to be a tough game for the Chicago Bulls because the Orlando Magic have the number 4 defense in the NBA. But I want to see the Bulls' mentality a little better. I want to see if the Bulls learn how to lock into this game. This is a tough game. This is going to be a tough game for both teams because both teams are in the play-in as of right now. We're in 9th, and the Orlando Magic are in 8th coming in. Billy Donovan said playing the 2 together creates a scouting problem for the opponents. He said that his team worked on the unconventional lineup in recent days. He said those two guys are very good together. They know how to play off each other, but it's the other spacing around those guys that has to be better. And you know what? Billy Donovan, I disagree with that. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. You know what needs to be better? The mentality. You know what else needs to be better? The focus. Because the Bulls were not focused. They weren't. For 3 quarters, they fooled around, they messed around, they acted like this was funny, they acted like this was cute, and they almost got burned. You almost got burned by a team that had nothing but G-Leaguers. And all credit to the Memphis Grizzlies. They out-hustled, they outworked, and they played harder than the Bulls. Jared Jackson Jr. scored 28 points for the Grizzlies before fouling out of the 4th quarter. G.G. Jackson, who, by the way, signed a 4-year deal with the Memphis Grizzlies. Congratulations to him. Well-deserved. He added 27 points, and Santi Andama scored 15, as did Scottie Pippen Jr., who was an absolute pest on defense, and Vince Williams Jr. had 13 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists for Memphis. G.G. Jackson, a two-way player that the Grizzlies took with the 45th pick in last year's draft, had struggled at times recently and came off the bench. He was 9 of 18 for the field, including 4 of 9 from three-point range. Taylor Jenkins said about G.G., he was phenomenal, obviously embracing his role coming off the bench offensively, diversified scoring attacks. He's still learning. He knows where to get better, and that's really impressive. As has been the case several times this season, Memphis couldn't hold a 4th quarter lead with its makeshift lineup. There wasn't a difference in Jacob Gilliard said there wasn't a difference tonight than any other 4th quarter we've let get away from us. We've just struggled down the stretch, probably because we had so many injuries, and we're trying to rely on Jared Jackson pretty much 95% of the time. The Grizzlies have used 31 starting lineups with 18 players having started at least once this season. Earlier, Memphis traded David Roddy to the Phoenix Suns, but at the end of the day, here's the reality of it. I'll take the win any way we can get. It was the ugliest win of the season for the Bulls, probably the worst win that the Chicago Bulls had this season. But you know what? At the end of the day, I would rather look ugly in a win than rather look ugly in a loss. You know what I mean? I'll take the win, but the Bulls, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed at them. I'm still not forgiving them. They are a joke. This franchise is an absolute clown show. 54% for the field for the Bulls, 46% for the field for Memphis. The rebounds, 46-34 in favor of the Bulls. The assists, 26-24 in favor of Memphis. The steals were 8-3 in favor of Memphis. The blocks, 4 apiece. The fast break points were 12-7 in favor of the Bulls. Points in the paint, 48-42 in favor of the Memphis Grizzlies. As who stood out for both teams. DeMar DeRozan led the Bulls in scoring with 30. He added 8 rebounds and an assist. He was 11 of 17 for the field, 3 of 3 from three-point land. Nikola Vucevic added another double-double with 20 points and 10 rebounds. He also grabbed 5 assists. He had also 2 blocks, 7 of 19 for the field. Andre Drummond, to me, was the best player of the night. 21 points off the bench with 13 rebounds, assists, a steal, and a block. He was 10-11 from the field and only 1 turnover. Only 1 turnover for Andre Drummond. Alex Caruso and Andre Drummond, to me, were the only Bulls that didn't turn the ball over. Drummond had 1 turnover, but that's pretty much it. But you want to know why? Because Drummond and Caruso had more discipline than everybody on this team. And that is embarrassing to me. That is embarrassing, considering the fact, like I said earlier on this show, that the Bulls played a Memphis team with a bunch of G-Leaguers. That is just disrespectful. And the Bulls are lucky that they won this game. They are fortunate that they swept the season series with Memphis. But honestly, the Bulls don't deserve it. They don't. The Grizzlies were the ones that deserved this win because Jared Jackson Jr. played really well for Memphis. 28 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 11 of 22 from the field. He also had a block. G.G. Jackson was outstanding. 27 points, 9 of 18 for the field, 9 rebounds, 4 of 9 from 3 with an assist and a steal. Scottie Pippen Jr., he is an absolute pest and an absolute steal for the Memphis Grizzlies on the bench with 15 points, 6 assists, a steal, and a block. He also grabbed 2 rebounds, 6 of 10 for the field. Vince Williams Jr. did really well with 13 points. But look, Memphis, you get all the credit from me. You deserve to win this game. It's very unfortunate that we were very lucky that we won, but Memphis, you deserved it. As for the Chicago Bulls, you are an absolute joke. You are an absolute clown show, and I'm not giving up being a Bulls fan, and I'm not giving up covering this team on this podcast. But to me, you are a joke. You are a disgrace. You are a clown show, and AK, you are nothing more than a ringmaster leading this circus. Because this is pathetic. This is pathetic and inexcusable. You gotta be better, Bulls. You gotta show me a better focus against Orlando. You gotta show me that you want this game. You gotta show me that you want it, because if you come out Saturday against Orlando, if you come out flat, if you come out unfocused, if you come out undisciplined, guess what's gonna happen? A lot worse than this rant that I'm doing right now. But coming up next, there's one team in the NBA that is an absolute problem, and it is an absolute nightmare for anybody in the Eastern Conference. The Cleveland Cavaliers continue to show why they are one of the most dominant teams in the NBA right now. We're going to talk about their win against Brooklyn when we come back on Let 'Em Know Kings United. We're back on Let 'Em Know Kings United, and we're going to talk about something completely positive here. And that positivity is the Cleveland Cavaliers with a 118-95 win over the Brooklyn Nets last night at the Barclays Center. The craziest thing happened on ESPN a couple days ago. I've watched some ESPN people talk about how the LA Clippers are the favorites to win the NBA championship because they got Russell Westbrook coming off the bench and being an absolute spark plug, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George being absolutely healthy for the most part of this year. They got depth in the big men of Zubac, Plumlee, and Tice, and all of that is a pretty good argument for the LA Clippers, but I hate to give anybody a reality check. I hate to give everybody in the NBA world a reality check, but here's the reality. The Cleveland Cavaliers are a straight up problem, and it's time for the NBA world to put some respect and recognition on the Cleveland Cavaliers. They have won 16 of their last 17 games. They have won 8 straight games for the second time this season. They are now first place in the Central Division. They hold a 2-game lead over Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks simply handed the Cleveland Cavaliers the Central Division by hiring Doc Rivers as a head coach, which is absolutely corruption. It is an absolute disgrace to the city of Milwaukee. I think Doc Rivers is holding the city of Milwaukee and the Bucks organization hostage, and it's time for people to recognize that JB Bickerstaff right now, to me, is the favorite for Coach of the Year. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. Prove me wrong if you want to. Prove me wrong if you want to. But simply put, JB has done an outstanding job keeping this Cleveland Cavaliers team together as Donovan Mitchell came back to New York City, came back to the borough of Brooklyn, and straight up delivered. He scored 27 points as the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the shorthanded Brooklyn Nets for their 8th straight victory last night and 16th in their last 17 games. They won this game because of a 21-0 run to start the second half for Cleveland after Ben Simmons provoked Jared Allen. Hey, Ben Simmons, I hate to break it to you, bro, but you're injury prone, dude. You cannot stay healthy for the life of you. And when you pushed Jared Allen not only pushed back, Jarrett Allen and Ben Simmons got offsetting technical fouls. But Jarrett Allen, while he was in the bench, he was probably thinking, yeah, okay, they woke up a monster. Ben Simmons, thank you for waking up a monster that is Jarrett Allen, and thank you for waking up the Cleveland Cavaliers, because you are sorely responsible for that 21-0 run. The only person from the Brooklyn Nets that actually came to play last night was Mikal Bridges. He was the only person in double figures for Brooklyn. But back to Cleveland, they also won this game, not only because of a 21-0 run to start the second half, but to me, it's the defense. To me, the defense of the Cleveland Cavaliers outworked the Brooklyn Nets. They tied a season high for blocks in a game with 13 blocks last night. Not only that, this team is the most selfless Cleveland Cavaliers team that I've ever seen. And selfless teams win a whole lot of ball games. They do a great job of sharing the ball, moving without the ball, doing the little things. It's the little things that impacts games. Hustle plays, getting down to the floor, diving for loose balls, just an overall great effort. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, for most of the season, they gave me that. And they continue to be the standard of consistency right now. And like I said, the Cleveland Cavaliers are a problem. They're a problem for not only the Central Division, they are a problem for the Eastern Conference. And when they get to the playoffs, they're a problem for anybody, because they have just straight up shooters. They have George Niang in the offseason, who's been straight up hooping. Max Strus, for the most part, has been hooping. Evan Mobley, he got back from surgery and he's looking like his old self. Jarrett Allen, who was an absolute stud this year. Donovan Mitchell, slowly becoming part of the MVP conversation. The Cleveland Cavaliers shot 53% for the field and had a 45-33 rebounding edge and assisted on 25 of the 41 made baskets on the second game of back-to-back after winning at Washington Wednesday night, which honestly, the win against Washington was the worst win that the Cleveland Cavaliers had this season. I thought the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Wizards looked absolutely lethargic, and they hung around with the Wizards until they pulled away in the fourth. This game, however, that was a typical Cleveland Cavaliers win for me. It was a great team game, great job on the defensive end, and when the defense plays well, the offense starts to flow with it. J.B. Bickerstaff said, you have fun because of the results, and you can enjoy it because of the results. And what our message to the guys is, you can have fun in the competition, you can have fun supporting one another, pulling for one another, doing the gritty, dirty things, sharing the ball, and pretty much the Cleveland Cavaliers just played great team basketball on both ends of the floor, especially in the second half. I thought the first half was a little bit too close for comfort for Cleveland, I'm not going to lie, but the second half they were able to pull away thanks to not only the 21-0 run, but the defense. The defense of Cleveland really stood out this game. No wonder why the Cleveland Cavaliers were the number 2 defense in the NBA right now. Arguably, they might be the number 1 defense in the NBA, given the fact of how improved dramatically the Cleveland Cavaliers are right now. And it's no big surprise. It's no big surprise that the Cleveland Cavaliers are doing this. This is the most dominant Cleveland Cavaliers run that I've seen right now since the second coming of LeBron James. And the Nets were so shorthanded going into this game because they were so busy at the trade deadline. They sent Spencer Dinwiddie to the Toronto Raptors, which Spencer Dinwiddie is being waived by the Toronto Raptors. I recently heard on the Pat McAfee show, according to Pat and Shams, that Spencer Dinwiddie is meeting with either the Dallas Mavericks or some other team. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but whatever the case may be. They sent Spencer Dinwiddie to Toronto for Dennis Schroeder and Thaddeus Young. Thaddeus Young, welcome back to Brooklyn. Royce O'Neal has been moved to Phoenix for Jordan Goodwin, Keita Bates-Diop, and 2 second-round picks. They also acquired the rights to Vanya Marinkovic from the Memphis Grizzlies. So, the Nets, listen, I know Brooklyn was very shorthanded. I get it. But it's absolutely no excuse that Mikal Bridges was the only guy from the Brooklyn Nets to show up. This is a team game. This is a team sport. And Cleveland, all credit to them. Defense was absolutely immaculate. 13 blocks, tying a season high. Outworking Brooklyn on the rebounding edge. They obviously won the points of the paint because they always win the points of the paint battle. I mean, that's Cleveland's identity. Physical on both ends, great defense, attacking the paint, and getting out of transition. That's what Cleveland has done for most of the year. And I want to give credit to J.B. Bickerstaff because once again, he has turned around this franchise. He has turned around the Cleveland Cavaliers season for the most part. Are they going to stay this hot consistently? Time will tell. But right now, there has to be a lot of praise and there has to be a lot of recognition towards J.B. Bickerstaff and the Cleveland Cavaliers because right now, to me, Cleveland is not only the odds-on favorite to represent the East. I know there's Boston, and I know there's a surging New York Knicks team on the horizon for them. But right now, this Cleveland Cavaliers team is a straight-up problem. I think if the Knicks and the Cavs meet again in the postseason, I think the Cleveland Cavaliers would drastically be more improved than the New York Knicks. Of course, time will tell if Bogey and Alec Burks can contribute to the New York Knicks. But once again, time will tell. But right now, though, it's time to put some respect on the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's time to recognize that this Cleveland Cavalier team is a problem. And going into the All-Star break, they are playing their best brand of basketball in the season. Time will tell if they continue to be this consistent after the break, but right now, I'm digging what I'm seeing, and as far as the NBA, you better put some respect on the Cleveland Cavaliers name because they are hooping right now. They shot 53% from the field. Brooklyn shot 40% from the field. The rebounds 48-34 in favor of Cleveland. The assists 26-22 in favor of Cleveland. The blocks were 13-3 in favor of Cleveland. That 13 blocks tied a season high for them. The steals were 9-8 in favor of Brooklyn. The points in the paint 50-44. Cleveland fast break points 26-14 in favor of the land. Donovan Mitchell, he loves playing in New York for this specific reason. And I hope to God in the offseason that Donovan Mitchell does not go back to New York. I heard a lot of rumors that Donovan Mitchell might sign with the New York Knicks. If he does, then that will just kill the vibe that they got in Cleveland right now because Cleveland's playing as if Donovan Mitchell is going to extend with the Cleveland Cavaliers during the offseason, which we want to happen. But one way or another, Donovan Mitchell straight up hooped in Brooklyn once again. 27 points, 10 of 18 for the field with 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 3 big-time blocks. Jared Allen, 14 points, 10 rebounds, another double-double for him with 2 assists and 2 blocks. Evan Mobley is looking like his old self with 14 points, 12 rebounds, 5 of 8 for the field, 2 assists, 2 big-time blocks. Strus had 6 points in 21 minutes. He was 3 of 5 from the field with 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and also a steal. Dean Wade was great off the bench. 9 points in 16 minutes. He was 3 of 4 from the field. All of them were threes, but he also had 2 blocks. Isaac Okoro is a dog on defense. 8 points and 3 blocks. Sam the Man, he's got to be in the three-point shooting contest, right? Even though the three-point shooting contest names are official, you could argue that Sam Merrill's better than any one of them. Even though Donovan Mitchell is in the three-point contest, and he better represent for the land, all right? Sam the Man added 9 points, 3 of 7 for the field. All of them were three-point shots. Mikal Bridges was the only Brooklyn net for the most part that showed up. He led Brooklyn in scoring with 26 points, 10 of 23 for the field, 5 of 13 for the three-point line. Cam Thomas is a straight-up bucket with 17 points. 6 of 18 for the field, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, and off the bench, Watford did really well with 15 points, with 6 rebounds and 2 assists and 2 big-time blocks. Cleveland's a problem, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to put some respect on the Cleveland Cavaliers. They, to me, are contenders in the East. I think there are 3 contenders in the Eastern Conference right now. The Boston Celtics, obviously. The New York Knicks, because they won the trade deadline. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, because they are a straight-up problem. Time will tell if they can remain this hot consistently, but right now, this Cleveland team is hoping, and it's time to put some respect on their name. That's going to do it for today's edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United. You can find this show on Amazon Music, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you listen to this podcast, or on YouTube. If you're watching this video on YouTube, hit the like button on the video, hit subscribe to my YouTube channel, NJHawk40, hit that notification bell so you know when new episodes will go live. For my audio people, give the show a follow on the platforms, turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends, and give Let 'Em Know Kings United a 5-star review. I am your host, Skylar Weisberg. I appreciate you all tuning in, and I will see you next time for another edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United.